All right, as you can tell, the garlic is starting to get good and dried up. That dirt's dried up. So I'm gonna gather it all up in this pail and we're gonna go sit under a shade tree, knock that excess dirt off, get the roots trimmed up, and then we're gonna be braiding some garlic. Let's go. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me outside. I'm outside with Jeff. A couple days ago we harvested all this elephant garlic, and now today we're going to knock all the dried dirt off of it. It sat in the garden for 2 days. Some of the dirt was quite wet and kind of muddy, so just letting it sit in the garden for a couple days has allowed that to dry out. So now we're going to go ahead and knock this dirt off. I'm going to see about braiding some of it. Some of these necks are hard enough where I should be able to or tie it up in some clusters. Some of them have broke off completely, and I'll just be storing them loose like this in the basement, well ventilated area. But we'll just get to processing this garlic. What I'm doing is I'm going to cut the stem off, leaving about 8 inches, and I'm going to cut the roots off as well. Set that to the side. If I come across any corms, I'm going to knock them off into this bucket. I'm going to be using the corms later this fall. I'll be planting them. Now, a corm is similar to the seed of the garlic. So what you do is when you plant the corms, the next year you get what's called a round. And it's basically, it's going to be a little bit smaller than this. And you will then plant the round the following year. And when you plant the round, you'll get a nice big clove like this. Now, whenever I was actually harvesting this garlic, I noticed that some of these bulbs, they only had 1 or 2 corms. Some of them had several corms. I wasn't really being careful to make sure they didn't fall off. We did harvest 46 garlic, so I figured on average we'll probably get about 2 corms per garlic after we're all said and done, and we'll use those to replant for next year. We'll also be replanting some of these larger cloves. You always want to replant your strongest, in my opinion. If you just keep planting the weakest, then you're going to end up with bad genes. All these tops and everything, we'll just be adding them to the compost pile later on. It's important you don't get these wet. Oh, it looks like I broke into that one. That one's going to be composted. That one is cracked, busted. I must have hit it with the shovel. It's really important that you don't get these wet. Keep these in a cool, dry area. You'd be really surprised at how long you can get them to store. I'm going to be hanging the ones that I can tie up in my basement, and they'll probably store for, well, I'm expecting about 6 months at least. Might be able to get quite a bit longer than that. We'll just have to see. It's well ventilated. My basement's well ventilated. I have a dehumidifier down there. We were able to store our winter squash from last year's harvest. I actually still have some butternut squash. And today is June 19th. And it was harvested, last year in the end of August, beginning of September time frame. I haven't quite determined what I'm going to do in that raised bed area where I had this garlic at. I have a few different ideas or options. that bed last year on the opposite side, I had a bunch of carrots, and we had overwintered carrots all winter, and as I needed carrots, I just come outside and dig some, and that went really well. My kids love carrots, and I think what I'm gonna do, what I was thinking about doing, is planting that entire bed. It's a 24 by 4 foot bed. I was gonna basically plant the entire thing in carrots for the winter. So I might just leave that section empty for a couple of months, probably more like a month and a half. And then when it comes time to plant my carrots for the winter, I just use that. I can't really think of anything I want to plant that I can really get a harvest over a month and a half period that's gonna enjoy the middle heat of the summer. So I might just let that set fallow. But if you guys have any ideas, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I know after I pick my white potatoes, I'm doing my best to get my sweet potato slips going so that I can get some sweet potatoes planted behind my white potatoes. But if that doesn't work out for whatever reason, then I'm going to utilize some of that space. I'm going to do cabbages and broccoli over winter in that area. We did really well with our winter garden last year. We overwintered kale, Swiss chard, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower. So I'm going to look at really adding to how much of our winter garden we do this year. Our kale was amazing over the winter. I had 6 feet of it. So, but when you get into the middle of winter, it really doesn't grow. It just maintains, as one would expect, I would say. So, I'm gonna increase the amount that I actually have in the garden, since after about the middle of October, it just kind of sits there. It's like having it in the perfect refrigerator. It doesn't go bad. It doesn't really grow much, but it doesn't spoil. It's a really nice day today. It's hot, but in the shade, it's not bad at all. The other day when I was filming, it was so hot, the camera shut off. It overheated. Went into safety mode, so I thought, well, let's get in the shade today and get this project taken care of. Got some really nice elephant garlic here. If you've never tried elephant garlic, it has a milder flavor compared to regular garlic. We like to add it when we're roasting vegetables in the oven. We slice it up really thin and just lay it right on top of those roasted vegetables, and it's just delicious. So much easier to get that dirt off these elephant garlic bulbs now that the dirt's all dried off for a couple days. Amazing how fast those tops dry out once you pull it out of the ground. Drink here. I want to make sure that the garlic here that I'm not able to hang, that's what I'll use in cooking first. Because what I'm able to hang and tie up should store quite a bit longer. Earlier I was mentioning the corms and how I was planning on planting what I have. Be interested, I'm going to count them here in a little bit, trying to see what we'll have to plant. I'll get that garlic also, add that to compost. Actually, you know what? I'll just take that inside and go ahead and chop it up. It's not as bad. I'll put it over here on this side. All right, some of this chaff out of here. We'll go through and get these corms we're going to count. They look kind of like little acorns. I know I left a lot in the garden, but I'm not overly concerned about getting every single one of them. I got a bucket right over here I'm going to drop them into and I'll count them off. All right, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 62. So we got 62 corms, 63. I've got 63 corms that we've harvested here. And there's a lot more, there's several more in the garden. I'll probably go through a little bit. If there's some on the top, they're easy to pick up, I'll pick them up. I'm not gonna worry about digging through and making sure I got all of them, but I will go ahead and pick those up. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take all this, add it to the compost. I'll be right back and we'll start tying this up. All right, I'm back. I just dropped the garlic tops and that first one that I found that was busted, and I found an extra 12 corms just laying on top. So that gives us 76 corms. That'll be nice for planting this fall. Now we're gonna get into tying this up. So what we're gonna do is, you're gonna wanna start with 3, just like that. You're gonna come up and you're gonna tie them a couple inches above, get a really good knot. It's gonna be the foundation of it all. just like that. Then I'm gonna go around it. I like to go around it twice, and then I come up like that. So I went around it twice, and then I just threaded it up the garlic. Now we're gonna lay our next one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Go around it a couple times. Go up it, just like that. Okay. I didn't actually tie a knot that time. I just went around it and on up. 1, 2, 3. We go around it. Three times. And I'm going to weave it in that garlic. Okay? Just like that. A couple of these, the stems are pretty poor condition, so I'm not going to be able to tie up all this garlic, but I'm going to tie up all the ones that have good stems. Around it about 3 times. One between the garlic, around it, and between another garlic, around it. Okay. Keep on going. One, 2, 3. Garlic. Garlic. Now when you actually go to get garlic off here, you'll be cutting it off with scissors or snips. Got my 3 cloves on there, tying it around. Alright, weaving it in there. Now I'm going to cut it. And you're going to tie a knot. And that right there is how you tie it up. We've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, about 18 to 20 garlics on there. And it weighs a fairly good amount, and that's all I want to put on one. So we'll set this one to the side, and then we'll hang this one in the basement. Just set that to the side. And then we'll start our next one. Group of 3, go around a few times, weave it around those cloves, come up, get another group of 3, just like that. Go around them cloves with your twine. That's about all I'll be tying up. The rest of these are going to have to be stored loose. just like that. Now what I'll do is I'm gonna hang these under the back porch for a couple days so that those stems continue to dry out really good. And then I'll be moving these to the basement. So thanks for joining me on this preparing the elephant garlic for storage video. Like I said, after I set these on the porch and let them dry out for a couple days, I'll be hanging them from the rafters in my basement. It's well ventilated down there. I have a dehumidifier, and that's where they'll stay storing. And all these ones like this that don't have a stem, I'll put a couple of them in the kitchen pantry, and the rest of them I'll put in a little wire basket downstairs in the basement. We'll use those first, and then we'll transition to using what's hanging. Thank you. All right, there's the end result hanging from my porch. It's going to be here for 2 days, maybe 3, and then I'll be transitioning it to the basement.